Commander Daniel Cross walked through the main doors of the royal palace. His boots made hard sounds on the black floor beneath his feet. The walls around him were made of crystal that shone with bright light. The walls were so tall that Daniel had to look up to see them. Everything in this palace was big and strange to him. Daniel was a diplomat from Earth. His job was to talk with the Queen and make agreements between the two worlds. Earth had just learned how to travel between stars. This was a big moment for all humans. The people were one of the oldest and strongest races in the galaxy. They had power that Earth did not have yet. The palace halls were long and empty. Guards in metal suits stood at different points. They had many eyes that watched Daniel as he passed them. Daniel felt small and out of place. He tried to keep his face calm and strong. A good diplomat does not show fear or doubt. An attendant came to Daniel and led him deeper into the palace. They walked past rooms filled with strange machines and plants that Daniel had never seen before. The palace seemed alive in some way. Lights moved through the walls like blood moving through veins. Finally, they reached the great hall where the Queen waited. The hall was so big that it took time for Daniel's eyes to adjust to the light. The Queen sat on a throne that was raised high above the ground. She was a being of terrible beauty. Her skin was hard like armor. 4 strong arms hung from her body. Her eyes were not like human eyes. They were compound eyes that saw in ways humans could not understand. The Queen looked at Daniel for a long time. She did not smile in the way that humans did. When she spoke, her voice came through a small machine that Daniel wore in his ear. The machine changed her words into English that he could understand. The Queen said words about trade. She spoke about which planets belonged to which races. She talked about laws that would keep peace between Earth, and her voice was cold and without feeling. Daniel listened and gave answers. He spoke about what Earth could offer. He tried to sound strong and sure. The meeting went on for many hours. Daniel's legs grew tired. His mind grew tired from thinking of the right words to say, but he kept his body still and his face calm. This was what a diplomat had to do. Then the Queen stood up. The meeting was over. Attendants came to take Daniel away. The Queen spoke one more time. She said the ceremony feast would happen that night. There would be many important at the feast. This was when Earth would officially join the galactic community. That night, Daniel put on formal clothes. He wore a dark suit that Earth leaders had chosen for him. It looked simple next to the bright metal and colors of the clothes. The feast was in a different hall. There were long tables and many sitting in perfect rows. Each had a place that showed their importance. Daniel's seat was good but not the best. He understood that the Queen was showing him that humans were new and not yet equal to the old races. As Daniel sat down, doors at the far end of the hall opened. The Queen came in first. Everyone stood up to show respect. But then something else happened that made people turn their heads. A young came through the doors. This was the princess. Her name was, she was not like the other in the room. Her skin was smoother and had colors that moved and changed like water. Where other moved like machines following exact paths, moved with something that looked like freedom. Daniel could not stop looking at her. Walked to a seat near the Queen's throne. Her eyes moved around the room as she walked. Then her eyes found Daniel. They looked at each other for a moment that felt very long. Something passed between them in that moment. Daniel did not have words for it. It was not like normal diplomatic greeting. It was something real and direct. For just a second, Daniel felt like the princess was truly seeing him, not seeing him as a human or as a diplomat or as something strange and new, just seeing him. Then looked away. She sat in her seat. The Queen spoke sharply to her in the language. The words were quick and hard. Daniel did not know what the Queen said, but he could feel the displeasure in her voice. His body went still. She became like the other, stiff and controlled, but Daniel saw something. He saw the slight turning of her head. He saw how her eyes moved back toward him one more time when she thought no one was looking. The feast began. Food came to the tables. The food was strange to Daniel. It was not like anything he had eaten before. Some of it he could eat. Some of it his body could not handle. He ate slowly and carefully. Around him spoke to each other. Their voices were low and sharp. They did not seem to enjoy the feast the way humans would. For this was business. This was protocol. This was doing things in the way they had always been done. But the princess was different. Daniel could see her from where he sat. She did not eat much. She listened more than she spoke. And sometimes, when no one was looking at her directly, Daniel caught her watching him. The feast went on for hours. Important came to Daniel and spoke words of welcome. They were polite but distant. They spoke like they were reading from a list of things they had to do. There was no real interest in their voices. Daniel was a new thing to study. He was not yet a being they truly cared about. When the feast was over, attendants took Daniel back to the place where humans stayed in the palace. It was a small section of rooms made comfortable for the Earth travelers. Daniel went to the window and looked out at the city. The city was all crystal and metal. It was beautiful but cold. There was no mess or confusion. Everything was perfect and exact and without feeling. But in his mind, Daniel kept seeing the princess. He kept remembering that moment when their eyes had met. He remembered how different she was from everyone else, and he wondered what it meant. He did not know then that this one moment would change everything. He did not know that the princess had already decided to break every rule of her world. He did not know that tomorrow would bring danger and choice, and a truth that neither of them could take back. Daniel lay in his bed and thought about the palace and the queen and the strange young who had looked at him like he mattered. The next morning came bright and harsh. The sun was blue instead of yellow. It made everything look strange and wrong to Daniel's eyes. He had barely slept. His mind kept going back to the moment when the princess had looked at him. Daniel received a message from the queen. She said he could walk through the palace gardens if he wanted. This was good. Walking would help him clear his mind. Daniel put on his suit and left his rooms. The gardens were on the south side of the palace. They were not like any garden Daniel had ever seen. The flowers were not colors that flowers should be. Some flowers moved when you were not looking at them. Some flowers made soft sounds like they were singing. The plants grew in patterns that looked like someone had designed them with exact math. Daniel walked along the stone paths. He felt calm here. The gardens were beautiful in a strange way. He touched some of the plants and they moved toward his hand. They were not afraid of him. He was looking at a flower that changed colors when he heard footsteps behind him. Daniel turned and saw the princess walking toward him. She was alone except for guards who stood far away and did not watch closely. The princess spoke through the translation machine. Her voice was different from the queen's voice. It was softer. It had feeling in it. She said, "I have been reading about your world since you arrived here. The council members say that humans are not very advanced. They say you live short lives. They say you are not stable or safe. But I have read the real reports about Earth. I have seen what humans can do." Daniel did not know what to say. This was strange behavior from a royal. Royals did not usually speak to visitors alone. They did not usually say these things. The princess moved her head in a way that might have been a smile. "Come with me. I want to show you something that I think you should see." Daniel knew this was wrong. A diplomat should not walk alone with a royal from the planet he was visiting. This could be a problem, but something inside Daniel made him follow her anyway. They walked deeper into the gardens. The plants became more wild here. They grew in ways that did not follow exact patterns. They grew like the plants on Earth grew, with some disorder and freedom. The princess led him to a small area that was hidden by thick vines. There was a small fountain there with clear water. Flowers grew all around it in colors of purple and blue. The princess turned to face him. She stood very close. Daniel could see how her skin moved with light. He could see patterns that looked like pictures moving across her body. She said, "I have a question that I am not supposed to ask. The council says it is a foolish question. My mother says I must not speak of these things, but I must know." "What is the question?" Daniel asked. The princess took a long time before she spoke. When she did speak, her voice was very quiet. She said, "Why do humans love each other the way you do? Why do you form such strong bonds with other humans? The council tells us that love is a mistake. It is something that weak species have. The council says that love makes you weak and keeps you from being efficient and perfect. But I have read about human love. I have watched human videos and read human stories, and it does not seem like a weakness to me. It seems like something that gives humans power." Daniel did not expect this question. He did not know how to answer. He thought about his own family on Earth. He thought about his mother and his father. He thought about his sister. He thought about how much they meant to him even though he was far away from them. He said, "Love is what makes us human. It is why we survive. When things are hard on Earth, we survive because we care about the people around us. We work hard because we love them. We do brave things because we love them. Love is not a weakness. It is the strongest thing we have." The princess did not speak for a while. She looked at the fountain and the flowers around them. Then she said, "We are very old as a race. We have had many thousands of years to become advanced and perfect, but something was lost along the way. We decided that feeling things was not efficient. We decided that love and emotion and connection were things we did not need. We bred those things out of ourselves. We made ourselves pure and perfect and without feeling." She looked at Daniel with her compound eyes. She said, "But I think we made a mistake. I think we lost something important. I think when you lose the ability to love, you lose something that cannot be brought back. I study human emotion like it is a museum piece from a dead world. But now I see it is not dead. It is alive, and it is the most important thing in the universe." She reached out her hand toward Daniel. She did not touch him. The gap between them was too big. They came from different worlds, but the motion of her reaching was enough. She said, "I envy you. I envy that you can feel things the way you do. I envy that you can love. I envy that you are connected to other humans in ways that I will never be connected to anyone." A sound came from somewhere else in the garden. The guards were coming closer. The princess turned away from Daniel. She said, "The meeting ends tomorrow. Your ship will leave soon, but things will change after that, you will see." Then she walked back toward the guards. She left Daniel alone in the hidden garden with 1,000 questions he did not know how to ask. Daniel stood by the fountain for a long time. He thought about what the princess had said. He thought about how she was alone in a world of her own people, but in a different way than he was alone. She was alone because she could feel things. She was alone because she wanted to care about someone. She was alone because love mattered to her. He understood then that the princess was very brave. He understood that she was risking something by talking to him like this. He did not yet understand how much she was willing to risk. Daniel walked back through the gardens toward the palace. The blue sun moved across the sky. The strange flowers watched him as he passed, and Daniel knew that his mission on had become something much more important and much more dangerous than a simple diplomatic visit. He did not know that the princess had already decided to betray her entire world for the chance to help a human diplomat. He did not know that in a few hours, everything would change. But he knew that something important was happening. He knew that he had met someone who was willing to break all the rules of her civilization just to reach across the impossible distance between their worlds and touch something real and true. He knew that he would never be the same. The final day of the visit came with rain. The blue sun was hidden behind clouds. Everything was gray and cold. Daniel packed his things into his travel cases. His team was preparing the ship to leave. In a few hours, Daniel would board the vessel and leave behind. He would go back to Earth and report what he had learned. The Queen called for a final meeting. It was a ceremony meeting with many leaders. They talked about trade agreements and peace treaties. They talked about which humans could travel to space and which could travel to Earth. It was all business. It was all protocol. Daniel did his job. He said the right words. He made the right agreements. On paper, the visit was a complete success. Earth was now part of the galactic community. Earth would have access to new technology and new trade. Earth's future looked bright. But inside the meeting hall, Daniel could see that something was wrong. The princess sat very still in her chair. She did not move. She did not speak. The queen watched her daughter with hard eyes. There was a tension between them like a rope stretched too tight. When the meeting ended, the queen left the hall. The other leaders followed her. But the princess did not get up right away. She sat with her eyes closed. Daniel felt eyes on him. He turned and saw one of the guards looking at him. The guard moved his head very slightly. It was a small motion, just enough to say, "Follow me." Daniel looked around. No one was watching him. He got up and walked toward the guard like he was simply leaving the meeting room. The guard led him through hallways that Daniel had not seen before. They went down long stairs and through passages that seemed to be inside the palace walls. Finally, they came to a door. The guard opened it and then left Daniel alone. Daniel walked through the door and found himself in a small room. The princess was there. She was not alone. 3 other young stood with her. The princess spoke without any greeting. She said, "We do not have much time. The queen knows what I am about to do. She does not approve. Very soon guards will come to stop me, so I will speak quickly and you will listen." Daniel could see that she was afraid, but she was also very determined. She said, "The council has a secret. They have had this secret for many hundreds of years. They have created a weapon. This weapon is biological. It can make any race unable to have children. If this weapon is used, a species will die out slowly over 3 generations. Daniel felt his stomach go cold. The princess said, "For a long time this weapon has been locked away. The council said it was too dangerous to use. But that is changing. Some members of the council are afraid of humanity. They look at Earth and they see a species that changes, a species that grows, a species that learns new things very quickly. This makes them afraid." She stopped and breathed hard. She said, "The council is voting soon, very soon. They will vote on whether to use the weapon against Earth. If they vote yes, they will send the weapon to Earth. Your government will not see it coming. By the time anyone knows what happened, it will be too late. Your species will be finished." Daniel tried to speak, but the princess held up her hand. She said, "The queen has not yet agreed with the council. My mother is not like them. But the pressure on her is strong. She will be forced to decide soon. I am telling you this because I cannot let it happen. I cannot let the council destroy your world." "Why?" Daniel asked. "Why would you do this? Why would you betray your own government?" The princess was quiet for a moment. She said, "Because you have something that we lost. You have the ability to love. You have the ability to care about beings who are different from you. You have the ability to choose to help someone even when it costs you something. These are the things that make life worth living, and I will not let the council kill them." The three with her stepped forward. They looked afraid, but they looked strong too. The princess said, "These are my closest companions. They have helped me get secret information from the council archives. We have gathered all the data about the weapon. We have put it on this device." She handed Daniel a small box made of metal. It was warm in his hand. She said, "This device contains everything you need. The location of the facility where the weapon is made, the design of the weapon, the way to defend against it, everything. If they find out you did this," Daniel said, "they will punish you severely." "I know," the princess said. "I have thought about this very carefully. I have decided that some things are more important than safety. Some things are more important than following rules. Love is more important. Connection is more important. The future of a young species is more important." Sound came from outside the small room. The guards were coming. The princess said quickly, "You must leave now. You must go to the landing area and get to your ship. Do not wait. Go now. And tell your government that the queen's daughter helped you. Tell them that I believe in humanity. Tell them that I think you are worth saving." Daniel wanted to say something important. He wanted to say something that would mean something, but there was no time. The princess reached out and took his hand. They stood there for a moment, human and alien, different species, different worlds. The door burst open. Guards came through. They were moving very fast. The princess said one last time, "Go, now, run." Daniel turned and ran. He pushed past the guards. They did not try to stop him. They were there to protect the princess, not to capture him. Daniel ran through the palace corridors. His heart was beating so fast that he thought it would break. He held the small metal box tight in his hand. Behind him, he could hear the guards taking the princess and her companions away. He could hear her being led somewhere. But he did not stop. He could not stop. She had given him this information so he would escape. He had to make sure it mattered. Daniel ran toward the landing area where his ship was waiting. His crew was already preparing for takeoff. When they saw him running, they understood. "Start the engines," Daniel shouted as he climbed aboard. "We are leaving now." The ship's engines roared to life. It lifted off the ground. Through the window, Daniel could see the palace getting smaller and smaller. He thought about the princess locked away somewhere in that palace. He thought about what she had done. He thought about her sacrifice. And he promised himself that what she had done would not be forgotten. He promised that he would make sure humanity survived. He promised that he would make sure the princess's brave choice meant something. 6 months had passed since Daniel escaped from. Earth had changed in those 6 months. The information from the small metal box had been shared with every government on the planet. Scientists had studied the weapon design. Military leaders had made plans for defense. The whole world now knew about the danger that had almost destroyed them. But there was more than fear. There was also hope, because the Queen had made a choice. The news came through official channels. The council had voted. The vote was close, but it was clear. The biological weapon would not be used against Earth. The Queen had spoken against the plan. Her voice was powerful. Her word was final. And more than that, the Queen had done something even more surprising. She had sent a message directly to Earth. She had sent a message to Daniel Cross. The message said that the Queen wanted to meet with Daniel again. She wanted to restart the diplomatic talks. She wanted something new between Earth and something based on friendship instead of just trade. But it also said that the queen's daughter, the princess, was being brought back from the places where she had been kept. The queen was ending the punishment that she had given to her daughter for her betrayal. Daniel did not know what to think. Had the queen decided to be merciful? Had she decided that her daughter had been right? Daniel was asked to go back to meet with the queen again. This time, the whole mission was different. He was not going as someone from a new and weak species. He was going as a representative of a species that had been almost destroyed but had survived. He was going as someone who mattered. The ship descended toward the palace. Daniel could see the crystal walls from high in the sky. His heart was moving fast in his chest. He did not know what he would find when he landed. The landing area was crowded. There were hundreds of there were guards in their metal suits. There were official ministers of the government, and there was the queen. The queen stood at the center of the landing area. She was smaller than Daniel remembered, or perhaps he had become bigger. He did not know. Daniel stepped off the ship and began walking toward the queen. He followed the protocol. He kept his face calm. He was a diplomat. This was what he did. But then something happened that no one had expected. The princess came through the crowd. She came running toward him. All the around them froze. This was not protocol. This was not how things were supposed to happen. The princess should wait. The princess should follow the rules, but she did not wait. She did not follow the rules. She ran straight toward Daniel. Her exoskeleton was shining with colors that changed and moved like water. She was beautiful and strong and real. Daniel started running too. He did not think about protocol. He did not think about what the other would think. He only knew that the princess was running toward him and he had to meet her. They came together in the middle of the landing area. She embraced him. Her arms wrapped around him. It was strange and wonderful at the same time. They were different shapes. They came from different worlds. But this moment was the most true moment that either of them had ever experienced. Everyone in the landing area was frozen. Guards did not move. Officials did not speak. The queen stood without moving. The princess was crying. Real tears came from her eyes. The race had evolved past the ability to cry. They had bred that out of themselves thousands of years ago, but the princess was crying. She spoke through the translation machine. Her voice was full of emotion that no voice should have had. She said, "I was afraid that you would not come back. I was afraid that you would see what happened to me and you would not want to see me again. But you came back. You came back to me." Daniel held her and did not let go. He said, "I promised myself that I would come back. I promised that what you did would matter. I promised that I would not forget you." Around them, they began to move. Not all of them at once, but slowly, carefully, they began to understand what was happening. The queen walked toward them. Everyone waited to see what the queen would do. The queen stopped very close to them. She looked at her daughter. She looked at the human. She did not speak for a long time. Then the queen reached out one of her forearms. She placed her hand on her daughter's shoulder. It was a gesture of acceptance. It was a gesture that said the queen understood. It was a gesture that said the queen was proud of her daughter. The queen spoke. Her voice was not cold like before. It had feeling in it. She said, "My daughter has reminded me of something that I had forgotten. I had forgotten what it means to be alive. I had forgotten what it means to feel something for another being. My civilization has been perfect for thousands of years, but it has been empty. It has been a palace made of crystal and light with no one living in it." The queen looked at Daniel. She said, "Your species is young. Your species is still learning. Your species makes mistakes. But your species also has something that we lost. Your species still knows how to love. Your species still knows how to care. Your species still knows how to sacrifice for someone else. These are the things that make life worth living." The queen turned to all the gathered there. She said, "We have been a civilization of rules and efficiency. We have taken pride in our perfection. But perfection without feeling is not perfection. It is just emptiness. My daughter has shown me the truth. Feeling is not weakness. Connection is not failure. Love is the highest thing that any being can achieve." The queen turned back to the princess and Daniel. She said, "I am sorry for the pain that I caused you, my daughter. I am sorry that I did not understand sooner. I am proud of you. I am proud that you had the courage to believe in something greater than the rules of our world." The princess cried harder. Daniel held her hand. Around them, slowly, the other began to understand what was happening. Something in their world was changing. The ancient rules were being broken. The perfect order was being replaced by something messier and more real. The Queen ordered the guards to leave the landing area. She ordered the officials to return to their places. Then she did something that no queen had ever done. She walked back into the palace with the human diplomat and her daughter walking beside her. And for the first time in thousands of years, a queen allowed her feelings to show on her face. 1 year had passed since that first embrace on the landing platform. Daniel was now the ambassador, too. He had an office in the palace. He had authority to make decisions for Earth. He was no longer a visitor. He was part of government. The changes had been slow at first, but over the months they had grown stronger. They started to question the old ways. They started to ask if efficiency was truly more important than feeling. They started to remember things that their ancestors had once felt. Some did not like this change. They wanted to go back to the old ways. They wanted to return to perfect order and perfect rules. But there were more who wanted to move forward. There were more who wanted to learn how to feel again. The princess had become an important voice in this change. She worked with Daniel to create programs that would teach young about emotion and connection. She worked to change laws that had kept from being able to form close bonds with each other. But more importantly, she and Daniel had become something that no one on had ever expected. They had become partners. Their partnership was not like partnerships on Earth. It was not like partnerships that other species formed. Daniel was still human, was still. They came from different worlds and different biology, but they had chosen to be together. This choice had shocked many. Some thought it was wrong. Some thought it was impossible. But the Queen supported them. And slowly the rest of the people learned to accept what Daniel and had together. Now Daniel stood in a room that looked out over the whole palace complex. From this window, he could see the crystal towers and the gardens and the city beyond. The blue sun was setting. Everything was turning colors of purple and red. Daniel heard footsteps behind him, came through the door. She had been in government meetings all day. She looked tired but happy. She stood beside him and looked out at the view. She said, "The council has voted again. They have decided to open a human embassy a real embassy with human staff and human supplies. Earth can now send its own people here without needing to go through channels." Daniel smiled. "That is good. It means more trust between our worlds." Said, "It is more than good. It is the beginning of something new. For the first time in history, we are allowing another species to live among us as equals. We are allowing ourselves to be changed by contact with someone different." She turned to face Daniel. Her exoskeleton shimmered with light. She said, "Do you remember what I asked you that first time in the garden? I asked why humans love the way you do." Daniel said, "I remember. You said that I could feel things." Said, "I did not understand it then. I thought love was something I wanted to study from far away. I thought it was something that other species had but that we did not need. I was wrong." She reached out and took his hand. She said, "I understand now. Love is not something you need or do not need. Love is something that chooses you. Love is something that makes you brave and strong and willing to break all the rules of your world. Love is the most important thing that any being can have." Daniel held her hand tight. He said, "I love you." On love was a new word. It was a word that had not used for thousands of years. But when Daniel spoke it, understood exactly what it meant. She said, "I love you too, Daniel Cross. I love you even though you are human. I love you because you are human. I love you because you showed me what my people had forgotten." They stood together and watched the sun go down. The palace was turning from bright colors to deep shadows. Stars were beginning to appear in the sky. Some of those stars had planets around them. Some of those planets had life. Some of that life was reaching out to other worlds and learning to love. The next morning, Daniel received a message. The Earth government had heard about what was happening They had heard about the changes. They had heard about the new alliance between humans and they had heard about Daniel and the message said that Earth was proud. The message said that Daniel had done more than make a diplomatic agreement. He had changed the future of two species. He had shown that beings from different worlds could care about each other. He had shown that love could bridge any distance and overcome any difference. But more important than the official message, Daniel received a personal message. It was from his mother on Earth. She had heard through official channels that her son had found someone special. She had heard that her son was happy on a world far away. Her message was short. It said, "I am proud of you. I am happy that you have found love among the stars. Come home when you can. We miss you. But I understand why you must stay. Love is worth any distance." Daniel read the message with tears in his eyes. He realized that even across the vast distance between Earth and even between a human and an alien, love was the thing that mattered most. He went to find. She was in her office looking at plans for the new embassy. He showed her the message from his mother. Read the words carefully. She had learned about human families. She understood that for humans, family was very important. She said, "Your mother is wise. She understands that some love is worth any distance." Daniel said, "Yes, and I want you to meet her. I want you to go to Earth with me. I want to show you my world." Said, "I would like that, but I am afraid. I am afraid that humans will see me and think I am strange. I am afraid that they will not accept me." Daniel said, "They will, because love is something that all beings understand. All beings know what it means when someone loves you enough to cross vast distances and break all the rules just to be with you." They made plans to travel to Earth. For the first time, a royal would leave to visit the human world. It would be another big change. It would be another sign that two very different species could learn to understand each other. But before they left, they spent time in the palace gardens. They went to the same hidden place where they had first really talked to each other. The fountain was still there. The flowers were still blooming. They sat together in that quiet place. Daniel said, "I remember the first time you asked me about love. I remember that you made a choice that moment. You chose to risk everything for something that you did not fully understand." Said, "I did not choose because I understood. I chose because something inside me knew that love was the most real thing in the universe. I chose because I wanted to feel something true for the first time in my life." They sat in silence and watched the light move through the flowers. The entire palace had frozen when the alien queen's daughter had run and embraced the human ambassador. But that frozen moment had changed everything. It had shown that barriers between species could be broken. It had shown that beings from different worlds could care about each other. It had shown that love was the strongest force in the universe. And in a quiet garden on an alien world, a human and a sat together and understood that the best things in life were the things that made you brave enough to risk everything.